What you're about to hear may shock you and go against everything you've ever been told about your health and how to get well. Government, corporations, and doctors share a medical monopoly, making billions of dollars with the current model of drugs and surgery, while aggressively opposing every other form of treatment. The United States alone spends over $3 trillion a year on healthcare, more than every other nation on Earth combined. Yet, according to its own Center for Disease Control, the overall health of its citizens is worse than 90 other countries. Why is it so hard to admit the most expensive surgeries and finest dangerous drugs for chronic illness simply do not work? Modern medicine is invaluable for infectious disease and emergency care. But aren't we just fooling ourselves as we race for the cure and dump water on our heads if we think massive organizations are going to cure themselves right out of the billions of dollars they raise every year, even if they were looking in the right place? The real solution to the world's healthcare crisis has already been discovered. It lies within the body's own ability to heal itself. And essential nutrients missing from our food for years is the key to unlocking the power that is already within us. If you suffer with diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, high blood pressure, multiple sclerosis, cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, ALS, Alzheimer's, or any other chronic illness you can name, you'll want to hear what Dr. Joel Wallach has to say. Dr. Wallach, veterinarian, pathologist, and physician, is the author of the most popular health lecture in history, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. As a veterinarian, he's seen the elimination of over 900 different diseases and birth defects in the animal industry. As a physician, he's proving the same thing can be done for humans. His discoveries have shown that disease is not genetic, and he's had to sue the FDA 8 times for the right to make certain health claims that are true. With 50 years of research and experience, 25,000 autopsies, and 10 million blood chemistries, Dr. Wallach is in a unique position to reveal exactly what's needed to get and stay well. Your body is the miracle. Scrape your knee and it heals all by itself. Address the nutritional deficiencies that cause chronic disease, and the body can fix that too. With the right nutritional supplementation, millions are getting their health back. As they come to find out, healing is easy.
I'm Dr. Peter Gluten. I'm a licensed naturopathic physician. I have 25 years of clinical experience helping people to recover their health with science-based, clinically verified alternatives to drugs and surgery. And I'm here with a close personal friend of mine, my mentor and my colleague, Dr. Joel Wallach. We're going to be talking today about Dr. Wallach's groundbreaking medical nutrition information, a very famous lecture, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, and an autobiographical book of the same title. Dr. Wallach, it's always a pleasure being with you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Dr. Gluten. Appreciate being with you.
So, what makes your view of medicine different from anybody else's?
Just by way of introduction, for those who don't know me, the thing that makes me different is I do have a degree in agriculture. And, I'm a veterinarian, a comparative pathologist, and a naturopathic physician for, 36 years. And it's a different thing to be a physician. And I learned this, of course, in veterinary medicine, growing up on the farm. If a veterinarian would come out to the farm and he'd say, look, your bull here has arthritis in both his hips, it costs you $160,000 for a double hip replacement. Bam! You'd hear the shot go off as the farmer shoots the bull. But if the farmer would have the veterinarian tell him, look, your bull has arthritis, that's why he can't breed the cows, but for a few pennies here, I can regrow the cartilage, regrow his hips, and he'll be as good as new in 90 days. Then that bull has a new lease on life, right? Farmer's happy, saves a lot of money, and he'll invite the veterinarian back. If we use the human type of system for health care in livestock, it would be so expensive that a dozen eggs would cost you $250, a pound of hamburger cost you $500 just to pay for the health care. So we invented a system in the livestock industry of prevention. This is how we deal with it mostly. We can reverse diseases with nutrition, but it's still a little more expensive than actually preventing disease. So we work on a herd basis. We treat herds as opposed to treating individuals. And as a result, we've wiped out type 2 diabetes, Parkinson's disease, cancer, MS, heart disease of all kinds, liver disease, fibromyalgia, birth defects like cleft palates, things like cerebral palsy, early births where they have, you have these preemies that require 2 or 3 months in incubators. Can you imagine a farmer having to put 30% of his calves every spring in an incubator for 3 months before he can put them in the feedlot? Your hamburgers would cost $500, right about. And so we learned how to deal with all this, and it always fascinated me as a kid why we did all that for animals and nobody was doing the same thing for people. And I didn't pursue it because I was so busy with my animal stuff, with Marlin Perkins and saving the white rhino and the elephants in Africa. And I was forced, of course, into treating humans when I was fired for discovering the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis in rhesus monkeys. When you have that kind of information, I couldn't bring myself to feel good about going and doing something else. If you have the information, you can save millions of kids. I had to pursue that. That's how I got into human medicine.
She was 9 months when she had her first seizure. We called the ambulance and they rushed her into the emergency room. Her brain looked perfect, everything was good. So we went a few months without any seizures at all, and then she had one about 3 months after that. And they just kept getting more frequent and frequent as the time went by, to the point where she was having 4 to 6 seizures in one day. So she got stronger and stronger medications as things went, to the point where she got on a medication that was considered a biohazard, where I had to wear gloves to administer. And I thought, if I can't even touch this, why is it going to go into my brand new baby, into her system? So I couldn't do it. It broke my heart. So I just gave it to her one time. And she was a walking zombie. She just wouldn't talk, wouldn't play. She was just not normal at all. So I thought, we'll deal with the seizures. I just want her to be happy. We were introduced to Dr. Wallach's nutrition. We didn't think it would work because we thought all these medications that the doctors gave us didn't work. So this is not going to work. We gave it to her that same night, and we went the whole night without having any seizures. And we woke up and gave her some more of it. That whole day she didn't have a seizure at all. And so now it's been a year and some months of her not having any seizures at all. I'm not in fear, constantly thinking that, she's going to go into a seizure. Being on the medication and still having them, and then being on the nutrition overnight, not having any seizures for a year and a half is just amazing.
In the field of naturopathic medicine, the naturopathic physicians are really the only licensed and regulated physicians in the world who have any training, any experience, and quite frankly, any eye towards the relationship between nutrition and disease and health. Now, you have been published over 30 times?
75.
75 times. You have a book in the Smithsonian Institution, which was the result of a $25 million federally funded project that you were in charge of. Your experience with pragmatic, old-fashioned, boots-on-the-ground nutritional research is equaled by nobody in the world right now. And then you bring to the table your experience as a naturopathic physician, actually treating real patients in real time with medical nutrition interventions. What types of results are you seeing in real people with real disease with medical nutrition?
Well, I've been doing this for 36 years now. And my patients affectionately say I treat them like dogs, but they get better. Okay, because I hang my veterinary degree on the wall next to my naturopathic degree, and the veterinary one's twice as big, so they see that one first. So they say treat them like dogs, but they do get better. For instance, what I've learned here in 36 years is that I can make a church family type 2 diabetes free in 2 or 3 months. They're getting their legs amputated, they're going blind, they're gaining weight, they're having all these complications, cardiovascular disease, all the stuff that goes along with chronic type 2 diabetes. And I can prevent and reverse all that. Dialysis. I get people off of dialysis, even if they've been on dialysis for 73 years. In 2 weeks' time, they're urinating for the first time. And in 2 months' time, they're off of dialysis. And so these are the sort of things I see. Just very recently, we have a community of Latinos in North LA. In just the last 3 months, we were able to get 400 diabetics off their medicine, a combination of pills and insulin, to where they're now ex-diabetics in just a couple of months.
Because
400 people.
400 people, because in reality, type 2 diabetes and all chronic diseases, as Linus Pauling stated years ago, you can trace every chronic disease back to a mineral deficiency, a nutrient deficiency of some sort. And conventional medical doctors, bless their hearts, have no training, no experience, quite frankly, no appreciation for medical nutrition. So, from our point of view, chronic diseases are not genetic. You don't have a bad gene. It's not the aging process. If you're having trouble metabolizing blood sugar, it's because your body has run out of the raw materials it needs to process blood sugar. If your bones and joints start to go south, it's because your body has run out of the raw materials it needs to keep that part of the body healthy, right?
Correct. Now, this is why we're able to take 400 people, and out of 400 people with type 2 diabetes, they've had 8, 10, 12, 15, 20, 30 years. We have one family where the mother and father had diabetes, type 2 diabetes, for 30 years. The son had it for 12 years. All three of them, in 2 months' time, are diabetes-free. And the young fellow actually lost 78 pounds on top of that. And so the reason is, as you point out, the type 2 diabetes is not genetically transmitted, as doctors would have you believe. It's a simple mineral deficiency. We've known it for 70 years. In the animal industry, we just put these minerals in their little alfalfa pellets we give to horses and sheep and pigs and guinea pigs and rats and chickens and dogs, and they don't get the disease. And so, again, I use the same principles that we use in the veterinary industry to prevent and reverse these diseases, and it always works. It always works. There's only 2 reasons why proper supplementation will not prevent and reverse diseases. Number 1 is you're underdosing, because in veterinary medicine we do everything by body weight. In human medicine they do everything by age. Well, I know 12-year-old kids that are 300 pounds. I know 90-year-old people who are 70 pounds. And so you can't go by age, you got to go by body weight. They may be doing all the correct stuff, but they're underdosing. And then, of course, the other reason is they're not absorbing. And there's many reasons why people don't absorb. Minerals, for instance, you could take all the iron supplements you want, but if you don't have enough acid in your stomach, you're not going to be able to absorb the iron. You can take all the B12 you want, but if you don't have any acid in your stomach, you're not going to be able to absorb B12. You can eat all the great high-quality protein you want, but if you don't have any acid in your stomach, you're not going to be able to break down proteins into amino acids. But let's say you have all that. You have your digested food going down in your intestinal tracts, and it's coming out in the toilet just like it was when it left your stomach. You're not absorbing it. Well, what would cause that? A gluten intolerance. Asthma is a secondary nutritional deficiency to gluten intolerance. That's a very common disease. Eczema and dermatitis, things like rosacea on the face, these things are all, and psoriasis, these are all caused secondarily as nutritional deficiencies to gluten intolerance, because you can't absorb the nutrients that would prevent these or reverse it. And then there is celiac disease and diverticulitis and appendicitis and irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel syndrome, colitis, ulcerative colitis, and Crohn's disease. Well, doctors say these things are all autoimmune diseases. They want to cut your intestines out, but they're all caused directly by gluten intolerance. So the diseases of gluten intolerance were around for 5,000 years. They were recorded by the Egyptian physicians in their old papyri 5,000 years ago. But modern medicine never related these diseases to a gluten intolerance.
Right.
They just said they're autoimmune or genetic.
Right.
And that's where they failed.
Actually, I was a photographer for Walt Disney in Orlando, Florida. And one day I just was not feeling well and went to the infirmary. They rushed me to the hospital. They were able to do a triple bypass. At the same time, I had Bell's palsy, sleep apnea, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I'm not expected to live very long, and so my son moved me to Utah. I was going to church, and I had husband and wife that came up to me and said, "We can help you. If you'll just take these, we'll give them to you if you promise you'll take them." And I said, "Okay, I'm willing to try anything." And within 3 weeks, my type 2 diabetes was reversed. Dr. Wallach, he's my man. He is my doctor. I was on about 28 pharmaceuticals. And after 90 days, the only thing I was taking was a 81 milligram baby aspirin.
There's Alzheimer's disease, which is a physician-caused disease. 43 years ago, Alzheimer's disease didn't exist.
Right.
Today it's the number 4 killer of adults. It goes from 0 43 years ago to the number 4 killer of adults over the age of 65 because of the way doctors treated other diseases. They want you to believe, of course, and that's another story, but they want you to believe that cardiovascular disease of all kinds is caused by elevated blood cholesterol. And they do everything they can to lower cholesterol. That's their goal, is to lower cholesterol, and they think they're going to help cardiovascular disease. In fact, there's not a single disease caused by elevated blood cholesterol. There's many, many diseases caused by deficiencies of cholesterol, including Alzheimer's disease. And that's why it's getting worse and worse and worse. The age group of people with Alzheimer's disease is now getting lower and lower and lower. And of course, this is caused by a lack of cholesterol, which makes up 75% of the human brain in the form of myelin. The insulation material brain makes up 75% of the human brain, and this myelin is 100% cholesterol. So you go on a cholesterol-restricted diet, you take cholesterol-lowering drugs, you get low T, low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, because you can't make enough testosterone, which is 95% cholesterol.
Right.
And then you wind up with no replacement of myelin, which tends to go away like all living things. You have to replenish it. Well, if you don't have enough cholesterol to replenish your myelin, you get Alzheimer's disease. And so I began to give people 6, 8, 10, 12, 25 eggs a day, poached eggs, to rebuild the myelin in the brain, give them all 90 essential nutrients. And some of my very famous cases and stories, one of my first ones with Alzheimer's disease was out of North Carolina. He'd been diagnosed by very credible neurological clinics as having Alzheimer's disease, advanced Alzheimer's disease, and his sister didn't want to believe that, so she took him to various neurological clinics all over North Carolina and other places, and they all agreed. And eventually he got to the point where he had to be put into hospice. And a mutual friend introduced us, and I said, I can help him, but he's going to require all of these nutrients, the 90 essential nutrients. He needs 12 eggs twice a day. He needs all this, this, and this. And of course, the nursing home people weren't going to do that. So she was willing to take off 6 months leave of absence from her job to grind all this stuff and put it through the G-tube in the hospice. And she did it. Well, in a week's time, Raymond gets up, gets dressed, and walks out perfectly normal.
7 days.
7 days.
He'd been
going
in bed.
downhill with diagnosis by multiples of neurological clinics, very well respected neurological clinics, medical doctors, all saying he had terminal Alzheimer's disease, and he was in fact terminal. And in just a week on this program, he got up, got dressed, and walked out. And that's because he did not have Alzheimer's disease. He had Korsakoff syndrome. I kind of felt that from the story, and I gave him 28,000 times the minimum daily requirement of that one vitamin. And so I used a big hammer because he only had weeks to live. So I had to use a bigger hammer than just give him the minimum doses. And by golly, thanks to the good Lord, he got up and walked out perfectly normal.
Well, it started about 3.5 years ago. I just moved back on from a bad relationship, and I was just going through a hard time. Mia introduced me to Dr. Wallach's protocol, and I honestly was just like, sure, everyone needs a little bit of nutrition. Little did I know that soon after started just feeling better about life in general. I don't know, I felt just happier. I was getting the nutrition I needed, so I stopped eating all these crappy foods I was eating and sugar cravings and things. I had more energy, so I naturally just started losing weight without trying. And I mean, it happened quick. I lost 40 pounds in a matter of 3 or 4 months without trying. So it was pretty amazing. And I had 30 to 40 pounds to lose. It has started me on a new path of nutrition. When your body is giving the nutrients it needs and it's being fed and you're given the right tools, it can do amazing things. I owe it to the Dr. Wallach's protocol. I really do.
I actually was 8 years ago diagnosed with Huntington's disease, which is like 3 or 4. It's the worst disease to have because there's no cure. It's MS, MD, Parkinson's, and chorea. It eats my brain a little every day. And there was no medication at all for me. And when I first got it, they said, there's nothing for you. And my mother died of it, so I was dying afraid when I got it. And I was so sad. It takes everything away. Your communication, how you think, everything you do. I used to teach, I used to do 5 different things. And I went from cooking everything and doing everything to not being able to cook or take care of myself. And I was going to go to assisted living where they, totally take care of us as Huntingtons. And a girl saw me and said, we have something for you and you've got to try it for 3 months. And then I said, okay, I'll try it. I'll try anything, because there was nothing out there for me at all. Within weeks, I could tell the difference in my writing and what I was doing, opening bottles. Like right now I can open a water bottle. I had no clue of where I would be today compared to really how bad I was, because I was going to a home where they take care of you completely, to me being able to live alone and do my own laundry and cook and everything right now. Dr. Wallach, I'm amazed. I want to cry. I just cannot believe. I'm teaching everything. Cool.